Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Enter the Labyrinth podcast. It's been a while, but yeah, Shimmering Skies is now out and will be legal soon, so we're super excited. But before we dive too much into the Shimmering Skies meta, the three of you played in Toronto at the DLC recently, and Luke, you actually did make top cut, playing Steelsong, I believe, right? Tell me how that went.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought I was out of contention in round like 4. I lost my first round to Red Blue. Terrible matchup. Not only is it a bad matchup, but I had some pretty bad draws. My opponent was really nice. I ended up like seeing him throughout the day, multiple times. I think he was also friends with a mutual friend of Sailor's, but like just got O2'd there. Not how I want to start. Then I think I split the next round, and then I 2-0'd. So I was like, whatever, 10 points on 3 rounds that's not enough. Not enough. Then I think I split 2 more rounds. Basically thought I was out. I had my math set from a 2,000 person event, so I thought 45 points was the cutoff. So I was like, oh, I can only get 44. I'm out. So I like play with my opponent. I tell them like before we even play, I'm like, yeah, it's really unfortunate. I feel like we have to 2-0 to get out. But it's still early, so I don't expect my opponent to want to do some sort of gentleman's or any silly thing like that. Like, people are still going to play. They're going to want to get their 30 points for Rapunzel's. But we end up splitting. And then he like apologized when he beat me because like he was sad about it, and it's just like I get it, but anytime you have to say you're sorry when you beat someone, it's not good. It's just like awkward. Normally, it happens in the last round of the day, kind of thing. But because I had such a poor record, I'm in like the losers bracket that now, like every round is that like cutthroat last chance given. So I thought I was out. Like, whatever, I'll play for 30 points. 2-0 the next 2 rounds. And then Sailor and Logan are like, you're a fool. We all have the same points and we can all make it. We just have to win the next 2 rounds. Do as it will. So I talked to Sailor and Logan, like I was saying, and then I had 2 more rounds. I ended up playing against someone I'd coached, playing Red Purple, ended up getting there. And then I played against Green Steel in the last round, ended up getting there, which is a good matchup for me, like traditionally as Amber Steel. And so that was awesome. But like I started off with very few points, so I go into day 2 in 60th place. So I'm on the draw basically all day long, and I 2-0 the mirror on the draw both games. Which if you play Steel Song,
That's tough.
I felt pretty dang good about doing that. I'll tell you what. They were
Yes.
playing, yeah, they're playing a 61 card list in tribute to the person who got second place at Texas. So they're running a list similar to theirs. I think he had gotten coaching from him. Uh, and if you've played that list, it's pretty high on uninkables. And I say that as a form of foreshadowing. They definitely missed inks on like turns 4 and 5 in both games. Nothing feels better than when they bare necessities you, miss, and then don't ink that turn, and then you just like, Ariel, draw the card you wish you hit. Like, I got lucky, and I was able to take advantage of that and win that. And then I got unlucky against what should be a really good matchup in my winning in, um, which should be by paper. Like you assume Emerald Amethyst is like a good matchup when you're playing Amber Steel. You have all of the removal. Traditionally, it's felt that way. I really felt disadvantaged the whole time. I'm actually went 1-3 against them over the weekend. Um, but I also kind of felt like I drew poorly. I didn't draw a whole new world at all in game 1, and in game 2, I think I drew like multiple when I ended up playing one, and then I had like a multiple turn period that if I drew anything that was card advantage based or just good in general, I was in a spot, and instead I drew a couple of 1 drops and then like a do nothing. like 2-drop Piglet possibly.
Mm.
But that's what happens sometimes, you know. Like my opponent played well. Ended up there was a period in one of the games that I think right before that period when I had like multiple do nothings. It was we each had giant boards. They got a castle to break parity. I had to quest into or challenge into it. They challenged back. I challenged back, drew off Rapunzel, but then they crickied and shifted an Ursula 7, and that kind of like sealed the deal. And I just drew like nothing after that, as I said. But pretty good games. Sadly, heartbreaks, but can't win all of them.
Yeah.
There will
So
be
you've
more.
you've now made the top cut 2 times in these challenges, but you're obviously not yet qualified for continentals. So obviously there's a lot of heartbreak there. Tell me how you battle through that. I
Well,
mean, how does it affect you?
from what I understand, I'm the only person to make top 32 twice who is not qualified for Continentals. The other person, yeah, the other person who's not made top 16 but is qualified is Bivens. I'm pretty sure he got like 17th or 18th and got a pass down,
Yes.
um,
Yeah, that
which
happens
he
often.
earned. I was it because he played. He was. It was because he was top seed, I think, in the event. I
Yeah.
know that they did it weird. Like I got 18th in Georgia because I lost to the person who got second place. But apparently in Georgia they had a new event for day 2. But
Oh.
in Chicago and what they did in Toronto is they kept the same event from day 1 as 2. So playing those extra rounds, like I basically got really punished in some ways for losing early. Like I didn't get the reset. So like even if the person who beat me got first place, I still was just stuck in 31st. There's nothing better I could do than 31st place
Yeah,
because like I was point locked.
I
get a
guess the
low seeds.
argument for them to do that would be to incentivize people to play it out on day 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only thing like obviously I would prefer it the other way because it had benefited me before. But I would just kind of like it if they stuck to it one way or the other. And then I could, decide after that outside of just being biased, like it's just like not knowing how it's going to work necessarily. I mean, I guess I figured it out pretty quickly,
Yeah.
but
It wouldn't
like
change anything in your behavior or the way you play or
yeah,
the decisions you've made, though, right?
it wouldn't. It just broke my little heart when I found out that I still had no chance of getting qualified through the act. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of like, it was like rooting for my opponent who beat me. It's like, yeah, heartbreakers, you beat me. You got what I wanted, But now I get to root for you and be like, if you get there all the way, like there's multiple people who are cute in this top 16. I could get that like pass down if you did it, and I like that. Like I know Sarek was also hoping for a similar thing, so like I kind of liked that aspect, like
Oh,
rooting for the person who beat you.
who we should shout out, by the way. He was the only 43 point to
Oh,
make it into top cut.
Yeah.
And because
hero!
he gave Let It Goes for dozens and dozens of people, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude,
He was the hero of the day.
he
He
made
paid out a
so
lot of
many
money
people
that day.
stay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
dude, so
shout
many
out to
people owe
Sarek.
him gigantic high fives.
Yeah.
It's like definitely. Oh,
As as for us, we didn't make it. We're in this exact same position as Luke. But as for myself, I lost my winning in against Emerald Amethyst as well, which is a deck that I said wasn't a good choice. So kind of just got my back on that. Because yeah, I thought it was too soft to steal, but obviously that guy proved everyone's wrong. Um, but I was playing red blue, which is one of my bad matchups. So yeah, and I was almost there. And what was like really unfortunate is that I had Big Sisu with us on 7 ink, and that was my only card. And on my turn, I drew my one of Hercules,
Oh no.
and, and so I couldn't ink and play the Big Sisu, and he was also on the play. And basically, what's funny is that this Hercules was always like a consideration for being either the fourth Maui or an Hercules, which would have been an inkable. So that was pretty unfortunate. But and then he won on he won on the next turn. Um, and so I looked at the top of my deck, and it wasn't good, right? Like I would not have won anyway, but it would have been pretty close. It was
How
a nail
many
bitter for sure.
how many times throughout the day were you like, yes, Hercules? Or was it this situation where you're like, why are you not inkable?
So Hercules, I again didn't play against red purple, the regular red purple for the two two tournaments in a row in DLCs. Like I played against a Bruno Madrigal LeFou combo, busted on a roll combo, uh, but I didn't play against a regular red purple again. Um, so again, the Hercules were not exactly needed, but they never like punished me other than that exact situation.
See, I had the exact opposite experience. Every time I needed the extra attack to like get over something, like I would draw Hercules and I had it. I played against Red Purple once in Swiss and I was able to 2-0 it. And Hercules was just like a huge part of that. Game 1 and 2, he had castles and I was just able to kill them like within the first 1 or 2 turns of the castle being down. Um, I was in the same situation as Sailor and Luke. I needed to 2-0 my last 2 rounds, and actually, like in our winning in, Sailor and I were right next to each other on the
Yep.
tables. Um, so I saw when Sailor lost his last game. I was against Amber Steel and my winning in, so like I was immediately excited. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've got this. I was on the play game 1. I absolutely like destroyed her. It was a 13-year-old girl, by the way, so it was wild to like see someone like that far up in the tables. But game 1 like was not close at all. Like I 0 to 20'd her, and then game 2, um, her opening was Cinderella, Piglet, Lawrence, Piglet, Smee in
Ooh.
that order. I just didn't draw the tools to stop the aggression. She wheeled me once in that game. She wheeled herself into a Benja, destroyed my quill, so I wasn't able to get the 7 ink. And yeah, like she got me game 2, so we ended up splitting, and just didn't get there. Um, so that was a heartbreaker. My only loss was kind of like Sailor. Like it was a weird deck. It was red blue, but he was running McDuck Manners and Super Goof. Um, and like he played well, but he also like got very lucky and like just high rolled me. Game 1, he uses 1 jump, and on his turn 3 he plays McDuck Manor. Turn 4 he plays McDuck Manor. Turn 5 he plays McDuck Manor and Queen of Hearts, and I'm just like, okay. Like I guess you just win this game. And game 2, he was able to get down to McDuck Manor and then just board wipe me for like 5 turns in a row. Um, so like it happens. But like I said, he played very well. He played to his outs. He knew exactly what his win condition was, and he played super hard for it. Like he mulliganed hard to get for what he was looking for, and he ended up getting there. But yeah, other than that, like Swiss went fairly well for me. I can't think of an instance in the Saturday bracket where I was like, I should have made a different play or anything like that. I legitimately felt like I had game in just every match that I was in. I just needed a little bit more luck to make it to day 2?
Yeah, I have to say similar, right? Like obviously, like I had absolutely zero chance against the Bruno LeFou. Like he on turn 5 he quested for 9, or he gained 9 lore on turn 5. With his combo, there was absolutely no way. And I had already dealt with like the 1-drop Maleficent and the Flynn, right? So I was like drawing well and doing good things, right, to stop him. But yeah,
You're like, I
just
got
like
this. I got this. It's like Bruno. You're like, that's interesting. And then the next turn's like, gain 9.
I mean, not only interesting, I was like, I had a Pegasus in place. I was like, oh, he's gonna activate it once, and then I'm just gonna trade with it.
Oh,
Like, but didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. He was
Then he
on
just plays
18 at that point.
LeFou and got you.
Yeah. Oh man. So that was kind of like, I mean, at the same time, I wasn't too sad or frustrated about it, because yes, first I'm already qualified, but also you cannot predict that too much. Like you
Right.
just, and there was a bunch of people who got caught by these kinds of decks, and like Logan was exactly on the same situation, but against another deck. Um, so we ended up finishing the day, me and Logan saying, did we make the right choice? It was really hard not to say yes to that question. Like we did good deck building decisions. We were just like a bit short, like on luck. I split my against TFM Pave, uh, playing Ember Steel earlier in the day, where I should have 2 of them, but he had a Flute and a Robin Hood on 18 lore, and I was winning on my next turn. And I was like, okay, well, I'll make you have it. Like I drew Be Prepared, but if I be prep, then I don't win anymore. So I'm gonna make you have it. He said, "You want to rip it?" I rip it, and it's a Strength of a Raging Fire. And I just lose my 2-0 of for for that. Um, and so there was all these little things, right, that happened multiple times throughout the day, where I was on the wrong side of variance, as we like to say, and yeah, just didn't make it. So as I've been telling that since Dallas, but I think I can reinforce it here to say that you not only you need good preparation, good deck choice, but also a very good amount of luck.
Absolutely.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Sailor and I played the same 60. Like we tested it for a little over 2 weeks, trying to like get down to exactly what we were doing, and like we for sure made the right deck choice for the day. I played, like me personally, I played Amber Steel 5 times in Swiss, um, and we had the goal of this deck needs to be able to beat Amber Emerald, it needs to be able to beat Ruby Amethyst, and it needs to be able to beat Steelsong. And
And
when I look back through my record, like I did that. My record against Steelsong was 6-2, 7-3, something like that. So I had a really good record, and then I 2-0'd Red Purple the one time I played it. I didn't play against Amber Emerald once in
but
Swiss. Even
I
though,
did
how did you do against Amber Emerald?
3-1.
Yeah, so I mean,
And
the
even like the one I lost was really close. Like
so yeah, the deck choice that we brought, like it did what we wanted it to do. It did what we needed it to do. Just
yep.
just needed a little bit more luck as far as our matchups and draws and some key moments.
It's quite interesting because like you had a great deck for the event, and day 2 you had a great deck for day 2. Steel Song Amber Steel 20 made day 2, I
Yes.
think, a
Oh yeah, a
third
lot.
of the format.
Yep.
So like there's 2 decks that I would argue would be the decks to play for the event: Steel Song or Ruby Sapphire. It's like the card to the deck that beats Steel Song, or you play the Boogeyman or the Ghostbusters, and like you play one of them, and like that's a good to go. And the way set 5's looking with Shimmering Skies, called a segue, I do believe. Steelsong is dominating, right? Like it's gonna beat down everything fun people are gonna try to do. People are trying to play new cards, and Ariel, Cinderella, and Vanessa are singing set to songs and just like crushing, right? So, and they're adding Daisy. So they're being aggressive. They're trying to beat their current former bad matchup of Ruby Sapphire, and now Ruby Sapphire's adapted. What were some of the things? How did you adapt your list for the day 2 events that were Shimmering Skies?
All right, so I had built two like I I pondered like and I've shared many thoughts on 20 Miller Discord about how to build red blue for the set 5 metagame. And at first I was high on Chicha, but the more I realizing that aggro was going to be a big part of the set 5 metagame, which I still doubt it is, but anyway, I needed the maximum number of Sisu Daring Visitors and Sisu Empowered Siblings. And so the Shisha was just like too many uninkables in the deck. And so as long, I still think she's a really great card, but she just doesn't have the uninkable is just too much. So I went on 4 Tipo, 4 1 jump, 4 Sisu Daring Visitor, 4 Sisu Empowered Sibling to try to enable for a turn 4 Sisu shift by playing Tipo on 2, turn 3 playing the Sisu, singing the 1 jump ahead with the Tipo, and then shifting on to the Sisu on turn 4. Try to make it so that we can have a game against Daisy and those aggressive decks. Also, I had put 2 Cuscos in because now I didn't want to have like Phytalis Spheres and Hercules anymore. And also the Cusco can deal with locations, but also opposing dimes, which I found out was just massive as well. So Cusco also being an inkable is just like a stellar of a card. As I predicted. And then I tried Vision of the Future. Everybody was telling me it's good. I was still doubtful because the potential of not being able to play a turn 1 develop your brain. So it was instead of the develop your brain. But with more copies of 2 cost ramp, I thought the develop your brain was just not needed, right? To play on 1. It was always a better card later on anyway. And that card Vision of the Future is just being able to go top 5 instead of top 2 is just like so much deeper into our deck. And it ended up being the MVP of the event. I think for most of us who played Red Blue, absolutely amazing card. Exactly what we needed. Into for this deck, because a lot of the time we're either missing a popsicle for our Hiram or a Hiram for a popsicle, or we're missing a dime for a Tamatoa, or we're missing a Tamatoa to Ricker popsicles for our Hirams, and or we're missing like a big Sisu or a Cusco to deal with a dime, something like that. And chaining 2 of those means going through like, I don't know, like 30% of a deck sometimes, right? Like it's just absurd. So yeah, very very powerful card. And yeah, back on 3 ice blocks to make all these Sisus and Medusas work.
That makes me sad as someone who does not like having dragons take everything out. I liked it when all the ice melted for a little bit.
Yeah, Cusco made it so that we could add the ice blocks back. Yep. So me and Logan played the same 60 on day 2. There was 2 side events that were pretty big in sizes. So one at 1 a.m. that had 170 people, I think, and one at 9 a.m., which is the one we did, which was 140, I think.
Yeah, it was 140.
Yeah, 42.
Oh,
So
not bad.
yeah, it was two really big events, and I pondered about going back home. And I was like, hell no, I need to practice set 5. I need to come back with some relevant data and also feelings about what is what is gonna be played, but also how Red Blue fares against those. And I'm really glad I did, because I finished top 16 to be able to get the Cinderella playmat. Yeah, so my matchups were round 1. I faced red purple. Honestly, pretty like regular set 4 red purple, and Cusco was amazing. But what was even more amazing was the line I just described of Sisu shift. So I started with turn 1 popsicle on the play, yes. Turn 2 one jump ahead, or was it one jump ahead? Yes. And they play Flynn. Turn 3 I play ice block into Sisu, kill their Flynn, banish their Flynn, and they play another Flynn on their other turn. And I play Ink Grammatala to contest so that they don't gain the 3 lower off of their Flynn. And on their following turn, they play Sisu. And on my following turn, I Ink, use Ice Block on their Sisu, shift Big Sisu, kill both. Quest for 4. They were down 3 cards, and they had not gained a single lore.
That's crazy.
And I was questing for 4 with like a 5-4 and a 3-3 in play with an Ice Block, which was just ridiculous. And an Irem.
As many as you need.
So
Yeah.
I followed that up with a Hiram and then a Lucky Diamond and Tamatoa, and the game was just over. And then yeah, the other game I just Cusco'd their it was a pretty close matchup, but I Cusco'd their castle at the good time. So up to a fantastic start. It was really I was really impressed by like how it was doing well against Red Purple. Second game I went 1-1 against Ember Steel. The first game was not very close. The second game, they went Robin Hood, turn 2 Daisy Daisy. I was able to ice one jump into Ice Block Sisu, and I Sisu'd their Robin Hood so that they couldn't shift. And also because I didn't have much Inkables left in my hand, and they quested with both their Daisy, and they got me a big Sisu and a Maui. So I was like, yeah,
pretty good.
This is in the book, man. I'm gonna get this. And they played an Ariel on that turn, and I had like another small Sisu, so I used Ice Block and killed the Ariel. So I had 2 small Sisus, and believe it or not, I never found the 6th ink.
Oh wow!
And so both the daisies were putting my inkable non-character cards at the bottom, and the cards I was drawing was always an inkable and uninkable. So I got ink screwed by Daisy by just the luck of it, right? Like it's not really a disruptive, like it's just randomly disruptive. Anyway, so next round I got O2'd by Blue Steel, who just like ran over like exactly everything, and it happens sometimes. Blue Steel can just high roll you. And then I proceeded to play against Red Blue for 2 rounds, and both of my opponents had my deck list, or almost like 60-60. And they're people I know. They're Jeebus and Haymakers, like pretty good player. But they knew I had like a good edge over them because I had played that deck so much, and they were not like big red blue players before. So I 2-0'd both. 2-0'd against red purple, and then I split the last 2 rounds. And so that was a Cinderella playmat. And yeah, the deck felt fantastic, but I had a few takeaways about it. There was at least too many uninkables.
Yes.
because uh, last set we had like same number, like around 21, but eight of those were like ink, right, in the form of one jump ahead and off while go. But now we only add we didn't have any off while go, so like those 21 or 22s were much worse than it was in set 4. So I had
Felt it.
a few. Yeah, I really felt it. And we were missing some card draw because of Tipo also like take one card from our hand, and also we have now 8 do nothing card, right, at the end of the like going into the mid to late game. Those cards we don't really want to draw. So I thought maybe we were missing some form of card draw and we were too reliant on Hiram. So that was another takeaway. Of the both Sisu felt amazing though, most of the time, and the other takeaway is that I didn't face a single Amber Amethyst. So I don't know how real that deck is going after this event. Also, seeing how many Ember Steel decks topped right throughout the weekend. So yeah, those were my takeaways.
See, you didn't play Amber Emerald, but I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I ended up splitting. Game 2, I made a misplay, and he took advantage of it. I could I had a choice between inking down to play a big Sisu to wipe his board, or playing a Hiram and drawing cards. But he had inked a You Have Forgotten Me and a Sudden Chill for like 2 turns. So I was like, surely he like doesn't have. Like, he only had 1 card in hand left. So I was like, surely he doesn't have any more card draw. Like he inked it all the way because he needed to. Then I got punished. He had a How Far I'll Go when I chose to ink down for Sisu instead of playing Hiram. But other than that, like my first takeaways for the red blue list after the Swiss rounds, because I ended up being 1 win away from making top 16. So second bracket in a row for the weekend, being 1 win away from exactly where I needed to be. But my first takeaway was it just didn't feel as smooth as the list we played on Saturday. Obviously, it's a different set, but we just I was really missing the How Far I'll Goes in the list. There were a lot of times I would hit the mid game and we just had too many uninkables and didn't have the ability to like dig ourselves out of the position we were in if we didn't have visions or How Far I'll Go. As another thing, just to mimic Sailor, Visions of the Future was insane in red blue. It was absolutely what we needed. I was never upset to see it. There was exactly 1 time in all of Swiss where having a Develop Your Brain would have been better, but I didn't know that till I played the card. So yeah, I think like for our list, like Visions of the Future is just going to completely replace Develop Your Brain.
Did you play against any hyper aggro at all, Logan?
Yeah, I played against a Mufasa hyper aggro list, and they ended up 2-0ing me. She played really well, and I didn't get the tools I needed to get there. But I mean, it felt rough. Um, maybe I could have like, I don't know. Because I always had like a baby Sisu to take care of the Daisy, but then she would just follow it up with whatever the next turn like Quest for 2 lore thing would be, and I never had the shift Sisu to like combat a bigger board. Um, that was the second game. That was the only time in Swiss where I got like ink screwed. I could have shifted a big Sisu to wipe her board, but I just didn't draw the ink that I needed. Um, so that was like the only time where I really felt the ink screw. But yeah, no, like it felt rough, but like I had the tools to deal with it if I had just drawn them, right?
And that's only 6 ink too, so that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just never found a quill or a another 1 jump ahead in that um in that particular match. I hit a point where like I drew like big Sisu, B prep, be prepped, lucky dime, and I was like, ah, okay, well,
Yeah. Well, even if we had less uninkable, we would still be playing those cards.
yeah, for sure.
But between the two of you, so you only play like one hyper aggro deck? Because I've been kind of sounding the alarm for a while. I know when the new set came out, I and a lot of other people were really hyped for the new aggro deck potential with Daisy and with this Chromacon. There's some other cards, Gather Knowledge and Wisdom, Doc if you're playing Steel, but everyone came out with the hate for aggro super hard, and it has not done well. And I kept telling people, like, no one's playing aggro. It hasn't topped anything. You should probably not be worried so much about it. And I think currently, based on what we've seen in the meta, that maybe is correct. I think to the extent that you should be worried about aggro, you should be worrying about Steelsong aggroing you out, not
Yep.
necessarily hyper
You for
aggro.
sure, yeah, you should for sure be scared about Steelsong. Like, on
Right.
all the day 2 tables that like was around me, I think I played Steelsong 3 times in the 8 rounds of the day 2 event, and was I mean all the tables and the top tables were just full of Steelsong. It's a very strong deck. It's I mean, not even arguable. I think it's a tier 1 contention in set 5 right now. I mean,
No
it just
question.
got a bunch of strong new tools. I got Naveen played against me, and Naveen is real. He is as strong as people assumed he would be. Um, so yeah, like if you're building a Shimmering Skies deck, if it doesn't have a good matchup into Steel Song, then you should probably reevaluate what you're playing.
It better beat everything
yeah.
else.
Yeah,
It could honestly be like 50%. Like it could be like devastatingly high in numbers for future events.
Yeah, and it's proactive, so it's like kind of an obvious choice for an early meta. If you don't know what you're going to be playing against, it's a very powerful deck with a very proactive game plan. It's got interactions, so you can beat up on all the aggro decks, and it's got, I mean, draw seven's good in every matchup if you're playing a bunch of free stuff. So I think that it's sort of the obvious like level 1 deck, and that's kind of what everyone should be going into their deck building, thinking about beating, and then we'll see where things evolve from there. But yeah, Steel Song I think is sort of the de facto public enemy number 1 at this point. Yeah, I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And there was a gathering of all the tops in the side events from Toronto of Shimmering Skies, and I think like Ember Steel is twice as high as the second most present deck, which was tied between Amethyst Ruby and Ruby Sapphire, like the two other big decks.
yep.
And
Yeah.
then a little bit further down was like Ember, Amethyst, Amethyst Emerald, Amber Ruby, Amethyst Steel, Sapphire Steel, Amethyst Sapphire, and all those are really close, right?
Mhm.
Like really close. Amber Emerald and Emerald Steel also not too far behind. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. We've got the at least at the time of recording the Atlanta CCS 10K is going to be this weekend, so we should get a bunch of data for the new set 5 archetypes, which I'm super excited to see. I'm happy whenever there's a big tournament I can pay attention to and steal lists from. So we'll get some good data from that, which is nice.
How many people do you think will be in it?
Oh, I have no idea.
It'll
I think the
be
8K had around 300 ish.
Oh, good, good. I hope it gets a bunch because I want
Me
more of
too.
these events, right?
Yeah.
But I would have laughed if it was smaller than the day 2 events. But like, I want it to be big. Like,
Yeah, no, the CCS bigger events, I think they've consistently been 250 plus people.
That's the
I
one
mean,
you won, right? You finished second.
who?
Nope.
You, Logan.
I
Like
don't think
No,
so.
I made top 8 at the 8K.
Okay. Top.
nice.
Got it.
Very
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah. Oddly enough, in that 8K, my opponent in top 8 was Ed, the guy who won Dallas.
Wow.
So
He's
it was,
Second
Californian
place
too.
in the day 2 event.
yeah. Oh yeah, and then he got second place in the day 2 event. So
With what could be another big contender in Shimmering Skies. He's playing Green
Emerald,
Steel with
yeah, Emerald
Cal.
Steel.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
But
we should
a
tell him
noticeable
how.
thing, like if you were to just be like, I'm going to make a Emerald Steel list the first card that pops in my head is Diablo. Second
That's
card that
second
pops
for
in my
me.
head is Ursula 3.
Yeah, I'd have
And
those
well, what's
flipped,
your
but yeah.
first card? You'd have them flipped? Okay.
Yeah.
And he wasn't playing either of them. So that's interesting to see right there. So it's going all in on the Mother Gothels. I did get to see him play a little bit, but he was like pretty far in it. Like when I walked by, he was crushing, but like I didn't get to see like why he was crushing.
So he was playing Clarabelle as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
Clarabelle
cow.
is
She's good.
definitely a sleeper
For sure.
of the early card evaluation of most people. Um, it went from like $5 to $40, like within a week, for people who didn't notice.
Yeah,
um,
at the vendors they were selling it for 56, something like that.
yeah, that was Canadian,
Bad.
Oh well.
but so Clarabelle is seeing play in Emerald Steel, Emerald Ruby, Emerald Sapphire. Some list also in Amethyst Emerald.
Hmm.
So basically, all the Emerald deck are at least trying it. And she works really nicely with You're Welcome, but also all the bounce effects. The
Yes.
muses,
Yep.
right? The muses singing Munner Knows Best and then playing Clarabelle. You could even sing like "Oh, You're Welcome," and they just have like a bunch of card in their hand, and then you just dump your whole hand by shifting cards and playing songs, and then you're refilling back up. So I've seen Clarabelle draw 8 like casually.
Oh yeah.
Casually.
Definitely a good card. It's also just got a really big body, which makes it pretty good against steel, right? I mean, Steelsong kind of has a hard time removing it. It's kind of always been good to just play big willpower guys against Steelsong, so it's another point in its favor. But like being able to play the 3-drop that you can shift onto, which often cantrips as well, having the 1-drop that some people are playing to be able to battle against items is also kind of nice. So yeah, I think I certainly underrated Clarabelle. It's one card that I didn't think was going to be seeing as much play as it is, but yeah, it's definitely a very good card.
Also, not bad against like the Medusa and Brawl of this world, right?
Right? Yeah, I mean, it just blanks so much removal. Yeah, just all
Big
around
body.
strong.
Yeah, she's one of the like legendaries that has the 5/6 stat line, which is incredibly relevant. Uh, she every time she was played against me in Swiss, like I was never happy to see her hit the board.
I
She
bet.
was yeah, no, I mean like even playing red blue, like I'd see Clarabelle, I'm like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna get rid of this thing.
Yeah, but at least we have the quill as like a really good tool, but kind of need to play around it the whole time, right? And even after the first one, we just need to keep playing around it. Like it's
Mhm.
never
Yeah, for
always need
sure.
to keep like a tidy hand, right? Like we just can't afford to just go or jam on our hand size.
Yeah, for
And
sure. Like I played against one Sapphire Emerald list. Uh, I'm not sure exactly what all they were on, but we got to a board state where they had 2 Clarabelles on board and I had 2 Mauis on board, and they just couldn't do anything against my Mauis. I don't know if they just never drew You're Welcome or A Mother Knows Best, or if they were even running those cards. But yeah, no, like I ended up, my board state ended up being Maui, 2 Gramatalas and a Tipo, and the Gramatalas and the Tipo just kept turning sideways, and they just refused to do anything with the Clarabelles, and I just kind of kept my hand down to like 3 cards.
I think Clarabelle in general, like the Emerald Sapphire deck, will be pretty hard to play, right? So I'm pretty sure players going into the first event won't exactly know how to navigate those gameplays at as much of a good uh, pace as we are. Like we've played red blue, like the deck barely changed, right? So we definitely had an edge over most of people who tried something new.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I just thought it was interesting to just kind of see that board state to kind of like lock them just by having 2 Mauis on board. Um, But yeah, no, I like, that being said, I think that deck for sure can be very, very strong. It has the tools to deal with the board state that I had. Maybe they just didn't see it. Um, yeah, I expect like Sapphire Emerald will get more popular. Um, I expect most Sapphire lists to be more popular. I think Sapphire Amethyst is something that may creep up and surprise a bunch of people with its power level.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I'm a little skeptical, but
it won the 8 a.m. event.
it did.
Piloted by a 13-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Very impressive, by the way. Shout out. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, very impressive. Like I saw him play one of his games. Like he was playing very well.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So what do you guys think is the best Clarabelle deck? Like if you had to pick a 2-ink combination.
I think it's the blue green list.
Do you really?
I mean, I don't think it's the best deck. I think it uses the Clarabelle.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I meant the best deck that has Clarabelle in it. But I mean that's worth pointing out that it does make sense. Like obviously Fishbone pairs very well with Clarabelle.
Yeah,
I just don't believe that deck is real. So
I think the best green deck is going to be Amethyst Emerald.
yeah,
I don't
guess
know
I agree.
that they will all use Clarabelle though.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways to build it. Especially since you could go back to an aggro version, which I haven't seen a lot of people doing. Maybe a bad time with everyone trying to beat daisies to be trying to play an aggro deck, but yeah.
The other thing I would like to talk about while we're talking about Emerald is the combo of Anna and the Muses. So
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The new Anna is the legendary one that has modal things on it.
Lots of people talked about it this weekend.
Yeah, it's a 3-cost, uninkable 2/3 quest for 2, which has the power, the keyword Royal Resolution. When you play this character, you may pay 2 to choose one. So either your opponent discard a card, chosen character gets +2 power, or banish chosen damage character. And I think the modality of this makes for a very, very powerful card, very flexible. But also the fact that she's a 2/3 quest for 2 that can be bounced with the Muses means that you can reuse her every time you play a song.
Mm-hmm.
That can be pretty powerful, I think. And there's something to explore there.
You can just use her to sing the storm on something, draw a card, return her, replay it, take out what you stormed on.
It gives Emerald and Steel, but in a certain extent with Elsa and other stuff that can like tap exert characters, it gives them a weapon to be dealing with something like Tamatoa, which they didn't have before, right? Or like was almost impossible for them to deal with unless they 3-4-1 by challenging or something. Now all your bad removal against these big Sapphire characters can just be complemented with this Hana. So
yeah, it's definitely a neat synergy. It's kind of it reminds me of the Amethyst Ruby decks with the bouncing like Lady Tremaine, Madame Madame Medusa type stuff, where you just like get this hard removal that you can just play over and over and over again to grind in the mid to late game.
Yep.
Even outside like music, just bouncing with Snake and Fox seems not bad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Sailor saying that like he thought that Emerald Amethyst might be the best Clarabelle deck. I don't know. I think Emerald Steel will end up being the best Clarabelle deck. It just gives Emerald Steel the card draw that they were lacking, right? Before, like that was kind of the biggest weakness of Emerald Steel. Like if you just kind of didn't draw your Diablos or your Sad Beasts exactly when you needed them and they didn't survive, I mean, you just kind of peter out over the course of 2 or 3 turns after that. Whereas like Clarabelle, if you play her on curve even, you don't need to shift her. I mean, she can just keep you alive and keep your hand up, right? I think it was a tool that it was a tool that Emerald Steel was missing that now they have. So I think it's just going to bolster that deck and make it even stronger. I'm really waiting to see what kind of lists are going to come out with that color combination and to see how people manipulate it. I mean, we saw Ed using his list, not using Diablo or 3-drop Ursula. So how far are we going to go from what we consider to be like the stock list in those colors, right?
Which is a nice thing about each new set is like there's such an abundance of playable cards that we're not going to just have cookie cutter lists all the way unless a card is like really outstanding. Like it's going to take a lot to like dethrone a Maui or let the storm rage on or Ariel, whole new world. Like
That was kind of something R&B and I talked about a couple of days ago. We've really been surprised at the power level of some of these Shimmering Skies cards. Um, when R&B and I were looking at the cards, like the week of like the full release of everything, we're kind of underwhelmed by some of the new stuff. But as we've seen people play with new lists and experiment, this has really opened up. I think we're about to see a meta that's as diverse as Set 3 was, if not more. I mean, there's some color combinations being unlocked that even in Set 3 just weren't things that you would see very often. And now I think they have the tools to really start to shine and do some things that we haven't really thought of before.
Yeah, I think Ember Steel is now the thing that just gonna stop like gonna be the test, right? Does
Fun
it beat
police.
them? Can
Yeah.
it be? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about. So we haven't talked about Ruby Amethyst in Set 5 too much. Now that's a deck that didn't actually get very much. I'm curious. I'm curious what you guys think about where Ruby Amethyst sits in the metagame now.
5 sets and she's finally dead.
No,
She's not
absolutely
dead.
not.
I don't know about dead.
I
We can
think
hope.
Ruby Amethyst
We can
is
hope.
I think Ruby Amethyst is still a very strong pick, honestly.
Yes, I think so
Like
too.
sure we're saying like, oh, they didn't get much, but I mean they still got some really strong stuff. They still got all of the good Amethyst cards. The new Elsa is pretty fantastic. The Elephant Mim is pretty fantastic. They now can kind of shift away from having to play 2-drop Flynn, so they can go back to Cusco's, and they still have all of the fun zoo package. Like Crab is starting to see a huge resurgence in a lot of the Ruby Amethyst lists I've seen. So I for sure don't think it's something that people should sleep on or think, oh, well, I'm not going to see it anymore. I mean, we thought that in Set 4 at the beginning, and here we are at the end of, or at the end of Set 4, and Ruby Amethyst was back as one of the strongest pillars of the game, right?
Yeah, it's always like that. I've heard people say that in general, Ruby Amethyst kind of needs to adapt to what the metagame is. So it's always kind of like a medium first pick, even more than Red Blue, funnily, which is like the real control deck. But the Ruby Amethyst kind of needs to choose his 1-drops depending on what the meta is, and it can literally change his whole game plan depending on what 1-drop are they choosing. Right? Is it like the Chernobog, or is it the brooms, or is it the Olaf or the Rafikis, right?
Mhm.
And it's gonna inform. It's gonna get.
I mean,
You need to know what you're facing to in order to choose from those.
you can just look at Set 1, Ruby Amethyst, and then look at Set 4. Like, it's completely different deck. Like, sure, they both played, like, Be Prepared and Maui. And, like, sure, there's more cards. But, like, the overall game plan drastically changed. People are like, oh, I've been losing to Ruby Amethyst since the game. But they're still different decks. Like,
Yes.
it's still adjusted. Now, that said, it has been pretty similar the last few sets. But it adapts, right? It would change cards if it needed to. It has an abundance of very playable cards.
So the event that we participated in, my friend Dave, who's credited as Attack for Two in inkdex.com, he played no set 5 cards and he finished second.
I mean, Kendall basically was playing none either. He had what, like 1 to 2 copies of the library, and that was basically it. So yeah, I think a lot of the big names playing the deck are basically just running back set 4, maybe more crabs or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really not much for changes.
I think in general the castle got more tools against it. So
yeah,
there's like, I felt, even though I didn't have the Pegasus and the Hercules, it felt better just because of Cusco being able to just one shot it, and in other matchup I just can't ink it, right? So but also like the small Sisu IS block can also take the Flynn. So I don't know. It just felt like even better, or at least similar.
Maybe
It
you
didn't
should have
feel
been
forced.
playing human Sisu all along.
No.
Maybe.
I
people tried
disagree
it.
with that.
People tried it right away in set 4, so I don't know. It's not like it never got tried.
Yeah, that's the first build I
liked it
yeah.
then.
I think at the beginning of set 4 it was good. I think as set 4 progressed, it just wasn't enough anymore, or it wasn't what you were wanting to do. I for sure think that the list that Sailor and I brought to the Saturday event was more or less the list that was the best version of it for the set 4 meta and how it evolved. I mean, even if you look at the other red blue list that topped, if you looked at Sarek and DKP, their lists were very similar to ours. I think we were only like what, two to 4 cards different from them, Sailor.
Yeah. Two, like they had like a -1 Pegasus and a +1 something. Yeah, they were really close.
So yeah, I think for what the meta ended up being, the list that Sailor and I brought was pretty well what you needed to be running. So I don't know. Maybe set 5 is where Human Sisu is going to shine again, or maybe we're gonna have to move off of her again as things progress. But we're still very early, and obviously not having Pixelborn to help push things and help have people just jam hundreds of games over and over again is going to slow things down a bit. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes out of this 10K this weekend and how things start to shake out by the time Vegas shows up.
All right. Well, do we want to wrap up? Maybe talk about one card each that we misevaluated for set 5, something that surprised us either by being better or worse than we thought it would be.
Go ahead, Luke.
I'll
Does
start.
this look like a face of someone who knew what they wanted to say?
I'll start.
We just talked so much in the last minute, half an hour.
Yeah. So I think for me, the one I probably got most wrong was Clarabelle. I think I didn't really think Clarabelle was going to see play, but we already talked about Clarabelle, so I'll skip past that and say the 5-drop Elsa, which Logan just brought up. It's a card that I just like read and kind of went past when I was reading spoilers. It just didn't even register that it might see play to me, which is kind of funny. I think in my eyes, being a 2/5 for 5 that didn't really quest super aggressively, just I don't know. I thought, yeah, okay, it has the Pinocchio effect, but what are you challenging down with a 2/5? But I guess the idea, the reason it ends up being pretty good is that you play like a goat or you have a fox or something in play, and then you get the effect of Elsa to exert a character that you can challenge with something you already have in play, and then you could also use the Elsa to challenge something else. So you get the Pinocchio effect, and you don't have to just take out a Pascal with it, right? So like Elsa can challenge a Pascal, but then you can also get an unexerted aerial with your fox or something, which is where I think the real value is. Is kind of I was seeing it as like a Maui that had no strength, but it's actually it's got a lot of versatility there, and the fact that you get that Pinocchio effect on an inkable is really nice.
Yeah. Also, a Diablo killer that is inkable, right?
Absolutely, yeah, just all around very versatile card, I think.
Yeah.
Mine, I think, is and I think you might disagree with me, Vanable, but the legendary Steel Arthur. With R&B and I talking about it in some of the games we played, he's been very relevant and very good. In Blue Steel specifically, I will say that. Um, I I read the card and saw it, and I was like, this is never even going to be considered for play. Like it's not. It's just it doesn't have enough, and it's been incredibly relevant in the games
You
that
can't
he's
play
come
too
up.
many of it though.
No, I for sure don't think he's going to be more of a 2 of in a blue steel list. I will for sure concede that, but as some he brings something to blue steel that I think it needs in the late game. Um, yeah, no, like the times where he's been strong, he's been very strong, and it's not really got that win more Mufasa effect. It's got a lot of utility and versatility and things that it's not a win more card. It's a I need a removal or I need some extra oomph on this turn to get over what I need to get over.
As for me, we already talked about a bunch of cards that I like, and we didn't really mention it last episode. So like the Clarabelles and Anna, even though I bought my Clarabelles at $7 Canadian before because I sniffed that there was gonna be something of the card. um, so these cards, obviously, I think Chicha, I think still has time to shine. I think that's a really good card. She just really suffers from being an uninkable in a color pair that is really, really hard. Like the number of uninkable is just too tight. But I'm gonna talk about a song, a 3-cost song, and I think we all realized when 3-drop Ursula from set 3 was released that we should never underlook like 3-cost songs anymore because of her, and we
Mhm.
somehow all did. And I think like When Will My Life Begin for me was just not a real card. Like when I passed through like reading the cards, but just because of the interaction of 3-drop Ursula, I think just the fact that it says draw a card and it says something relevant as well makes it just like playable on its own right away, right? So the card
That's
says choosing character cannot challenge during their next turn and draw a card. If you double listing it, then suddenly 2 of your opponent's character cannot challenge. And so if you're playing somewhat of an aggressive deck, you're backing that up with like aggression. Not only that, it will makes it so that your Ursula will be able to live to maybe sing songs like on a future turn, but also makes your Smees and maybe like your other characters or whatever your aggressive characters, maybe your merfolks or whatever, um, they can quest like freely for one more turn. So I think an aggressive shelf that can be pretty good.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sold on it. I think it's fine, but yeah, certainly an outside of an Ursula deck. I don't know. I don't know about that card.
No, yeah,
Yeah, no, I can agree. Outside of an Ursula deck, it for sure loses value. But I mean, if you get the double seeing, oh hey, both 2 of your characters can't challenge. Oh, and I draw 2 cards. Like that's just
It's nice
that's
that it
just
does protect Ursula as well.
yeah.
How about you, Luke? What do you got?
for a card that has overperformed that I didn't think would perform.
or underperform.
Well, underperformed would be Robin Hood. I really like Ender 5. Both of those cards, everyone was like, they're going to be so good. And then I think like it just took trying to build the list for people to be like, yeah, I don't think this is going to be good enough.
Ruby Robin Hood.
Mhm.
Yeah. I know that there has been a Ruby Emerald list going around. Braden was playing and DeCandio was playing. It'll be interesting to see if someone does well with that in the 10K. I do like the hypnotic deduction into the Robin Hood. Seems like a really cool play. I
Cute.
kind of want to do that. Yeah, it's really cute. One card that was a disappointment that I think a lot of people when they first saw it, they're going to be like, yes, would be the Sapphire Merlin. Kind of it doesn't have a shift target in the ink colors you want for the ability to tutor.
Yeah, I was
you
about to
would
say, I think that's his real weakness, right? Is you just don't have something in the ink combinations that you want to play him in to shift. So like if you want to play him, you have to play objectively a worse card in your list to actually activate him.
well,
Give me
let's say it out loud. There's nothing broken in Sapphire Amethyst to, to to go look for.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
yeah,
You don't want to cover up your rabbit anyway. Like you just want your rabbit to be a
yes.
rabbit. So
just give me a 1-cost Steel Merlin 2/2, or make it exotic. Give him some crazy abilities. Like just make him cost 1. That's one thing I really like about the 3-drop Clarabelle, or the 1-drop Clarabelle, is that it can be 3, do a Benja impersonation. Otherwise, it's just a very well costed shift target. Like you don't want you want your shift targets to cost 1 ink. You don't want to spend a bunch of ink on that. You want to take advantage of the cost. You don't want to play a 4-dropped and then shift 5 on that. You just spent 9 on your 7. Like that,
Yeah, the
the
deal
math
with it, you
does not go in
lose
your
too
favor.
much tempo, right?
mhm.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. I think the last thing to say is that 3 of us, as well as other members of the team, will be in Vegas. So Sailor will not be there, but Logan, myself, and Luke will all be in Vegas. So obviously, come up, say hi to us or the team. We'd love to chat with you. It's always fun to talk to people
Yeah.
who are fans.
I just want to say, like, going to these DLCs is like one of the fun parts about it. Like, I did not qualify for Continentals, but I won some good prizes, and I got to hang out with a lot of people I really enjoy hanging out with, like the team members here. I got to hang out with Pierre and Logan, and then like Daniel from TFM, and Fumbles and Sarek from Ink Thieves, and then a bunch of people from the 20 lore server and like old PB Grandmasters that I've played hundreds of games with, like shout out to Diego, get like, 9001, taking it
Yeah,
down.
man.
Like,
Diego.
it's awesome, doing that. We went and ate dinner with Diego Friday night, and I think it was Jack Shadow who had a picture and showed his wife and was like, "This person's gonna win the event," and he pointed to Diego. He called Diego winning the event Friday night before even day one started. Like,
nice.
Hey, I tweeted on Thursday, watch this man rise.
He
oh
did.
Wow.
yeah,
Sailor actually did.
dude,
So
Crazy.
Sailor
he's
called it before
power
anybody.
level, brah, over 9,000.
I mean, everybody who like grinded Pixelborn knew who level
Yeah.
9001 was, and anybody who saw him pilot yellow green emerald ember emerald was like, yeah, you knew that this guy was on
Oh,
the best deck for the weekend. We all thought that was the best deck for the weekend, and piloted by the greatest, a real grinder as well, right? So I was like, yep,
from
this guy has everything to win the event.
from what I
Yeah,
heard,
like,
he's just the best at drawing Diablos.
well, yeah, like
And then
they're
that's how you win with
What's
that
the
deck,
difference?
is you have the Diablo ships. That's how you
well,
win.
well, like there were a bunch of us
Skill plus
Saturday.
luck.
There were a bunch of us Saturday night that were just playtesting the night before, and he was
Friday
just
night, right?
running. Yeah, Friday night. He was just running the gauntlet on like anybody that he played against, man. Um, there were, I mean, also he was generally always had like Diablo or Prince John in his opening hands, but that aside, like he was just kind of putting the beating on anybody he played. And I was sitting next to him testing with Sarek, and I was like, bro, this is this guy almost seems unfair. Like at how well he's playing. Like not only was he getting good draws, but he was also making correct decisions in pivotal moments when he needed to. So yeah,
I'm,
no,
I'm sure he was mulliganing. quite
Yes.
well, which tends
sure.
to
Oh
lead
yeah.
to
Yeah, for sure.
having what you need when you need it.
Mhm.
Like
No,
I
step
won
one,
I
mulligan
won one
properly.
him on that night, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty happy. If I can 1-1 the best pilot
Yep.
on that deck, I should do well against it.
yeah, I don't know. Like he for sure took the momentum from us playing on Friday night and just ran with it on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Like huge shout outs to him. Like amazing player. Like yeah, couldn't be happier that he's the one who ended up taking it down.
Sure.
All right. Well, before we go too far astray, I'll say let's wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for watching. We always enjoy doing this. It's fun to just sit and chat for a while. But yeah, come say hi in Vegas, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.